Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Paige Bronk. We're the ones that sent out the meeting notices and the advertisements on behalf of the town of Groton. My position entails economic and community development, and we're here tonight to talk about the Mystic Education Center. Most of you, I'm sure, have more history in Groton than I do, and probably have fond memories of the Mystic Education Center. It's been idle for a number of years. One of our roles is to try to take some of these vacant or underutilized public properties and actually convert them into positive development projects so that they will benefit the community in a number of ways. Taxes, also put them back into use, case in point, the gymnasium and the pool in this situation. But also try to help build a community and getting these integrated back into working condition. We have been asked by the state to partner with them in helping with this redevelopment. Notice we call it a redevelopment project. It is not simply a property sale. It'd be quite easy to simply ask a broker to put it up to the highest bidder. That's not what we're looking to do. We actually will gear up for a request for proposal later this year, which is part of our process and trying to find the best developer, the best uses, something that's going to blend within the community. So tonight, I have to assure you, we have no plans. We do not know what's going to happen at this property. We're in the process of doing our own studies with the available information, working with the state, working with the community. We are also working with our consulting team, Horsley Witten. Jeff is here tonight, and Nate is in the back of the room. We do believe that public input is a key part of our overall redevelopment process, and we're curious to have your ideas. And Jeff will be here to give a brief presentation now and later tonight, the same presentation. And really our objective is to get information from you for this meeting.
Thanks, Paige, and thank you everyone for coming out. It's one of the first beautiful weeks in the summer, and you're all here inside, so that says a lot. You really care about the community and this property, and that's what we're very happy to hear. So as Paige mentioned, I'm going to try to be very brief because the point of tonight is to hear from you. Many of you have already seen some of the boards around the room, and they offer an opportunity for you to give us some feedback about what might happen on this site in the future. I think, again, many of you are very familiar with the property. It has a long history, a fascinating history here in town, starting out as a private school for the deaf in the late 19th century, run by the state as a state-operated school for the deaf for many years, and then until 2011, for a variety of uses, including recreational purposes for residents of the town of Groton. And of course, in 2011, the state declared the property surplus, and it's been largely sitting vacant ever since that time. So what's happening now? As Paige mentioned, the state of Connecticut is currently still the owner. They have surplus the land, and in conjunction with the town, they're really looking to partner with a developer to see something new happen at this site. Just so you all know, I think the intention is to maintain a lot of the existing forested land as preserved in a conservation easement so that that landscape remains, and to look at redeveloping the parts of the parcel that already have buildings on them or had buildings on them that have been torn down. And ultimately, we hope we'll be able to build something that is fiscally good for the town and adds some value and some things to the town of Groton that aren't here now. So this is a map of the property showing in purple where development might occur. and in green, those are those forested areas that are likely to be maintained in a conservation easement. I think the town can see a number of things happening with this site. The conservation area has the opportunity for a lot of trails. There's wonderful access to the Mystic River from this site. It's also very close to I-95. You'll see across the street is a parcel that had been used for fire training, and there's some woodland in there as well. And so that's part of, it's a separate parcel, but part of the discussion as well. So what could happen here in the future? The town did hire a consulting firm to do a market feasibility analysis. And all that means is these are the uses that are most likely to be attracted to a property like this. It doesn't mean that the town is committed to searching for any of the particular types of uses mentioned in this study, but just that these are the ones that are most likely to attract developers to be the most financially feasible. As you know, the property's been vacant since 2011, so there's been a lot of decline in the existing buildings. A number of them have been torn down since 2011. So that market study takes into account the buildings that are remaining. And we should note, as Paige said, there's no preconceived notion for what could happen at this site at this point. The town's very open in hearing ideas from the public, from developers, things we may not have thought of yet that could be really beneficial for the town and for the neighborhood. So among the things that the market study found was first and foremost housing for an aging population. There are a lot of people getting older in Groton, around Connecticut, all over New England, and really this part of the country. We have a growing aging population, and a lot of people who want to stay living in the communities where they grew up, raised their families. Maybe a single-family house isn't the most appropriate place for them anymore. So to be able to build something that allows people to start as independent living, move on to assisted living, nursing care, all in one place and still be in the community is something that the market study felt there'd be a strong market for, given the population here. High-end housing. Unfortunately, the cost of renovating historic structures like this are such that it would be difficult to have anything less than rather expensive condos or rental to make the investment back in the property. But it's, very beautiful property. It's beautifully situated, again, near the river, near 195. And we have seen that there's a high demand for housing, particularly in the Mystic area. So that is a possibility. Tourism and recreation. Given a building of this size, it's feasible that a hotel could be interested. Perhaps an eco-friendly hotel, a company that's interested in that access to the river, perhaps having open space that could be used for a farm, a small farm, for a local farm-to-table restaurant. Or on the recreation side, obviously there are a lot of really fantastic recreation facilities on the property. So it's possible that someone might be interested in using it for sports tournaments or youth sports camps and having it be an event space. Schools or other institutions. This is an obvious one. It was a school for most of its history. It's built to be a school. It's got the facilities for a school, and it could be a school again very easily. The issue here is that there aren't many local institutions that might be looking for this kind of space. There are just a very limited number of opportunities for someone to take advantage of this for institutional uses, but certainly on the table, and if a school was interested in coming in here, it would be a possibility. And then municipal uses. It's very possible that the town could maintain control of part or all of the property, reopen the recreation facilities, perhaps use some of the buildings for municipal office space or to rent for events, or whatever the town would choose to do with the space, to leave it open for park space. But more than likely, it will be some mix of these uses. It's a large parcel. It's unlikely that any one use would work on this spot. And you'd likely find some mix of market rate housing and senior housing and medical offices, or a hotel with public and private recreation, or any number of different mixes of uses. And we're not sure. We're not sure what those would be. Yeah, this is Alexander, the man who knows. And not all of us can be as lucky to be as smart as Alexander. We can't all see the future, and there may be some great ideas out there that you have or people in the development community have that the town hasn't thought of. And that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, is to find out what would be the most appropriate use. So what's next? As Paige already mentioned, we have started the marketing of this property. You'll see a number of the marketing tools that we've been using on boards around the room to try to see what interest there is from developers. We're going to continue that into the fall. There'll be a request for proposals released, at which time we'll formally be asking for ideas from developers. Over the winter, the town will be reviewing those proposals, and they're really going to be looking at them on a number of criteria. First and foremost, for the use. Is it a use that makes sense for the site and for the neighborhood? How experienced is the development team? Do you have good people that are reliable and have a good track record? Do they have financing capability? Are they a fly-by-night, or do they have the resources to actually make something happen? Schedule, can they do it in a timely fashion? And finally, community benefit. Is the development team going to offer something that benefits the town of Groton as a whole, and not just whatever development happens at that site? And then hopefully by spring of next year, in about a year, there'll be a selected finalist to be vetted among the community. So for tonight, again, we're trying to keep our talking to a minimum. We've got, again, a number of display boards. We've got handouts, worksheets that you can take with you and share with your friends and family who weren't able to come tonight. Most importantly, we hope you will spend some time with these boards. We've got, on the far left, the map. If you take stickers, there's a code on the table there, seeing propped up there with what different colored stickers mean. And if you could put the stickers to tell us where you think things are appropriate, where they're not appropriate. If there's anything on that map now that you find frightening and unacceptable, put it on there. We want to hear. And then for the three boards next to that, really thinking about some of these uses that we just went over, some of these things that the market feasibility analysis said might be the most likely. Do you think they'd be appropriate for this site? Inappropriate? Or maybe appropriate, but you need more information. And we hope that you'll write down any of your specific ideas, specific concerns. We've got sticky notes that you can write on. We've got my colleague Nate is holding up examples of the feedback sheets. As long as you want. We're here for another hour and a half, and you can stay the whole time, or you can leave in the next 10 minutes. You can go home and grab your friends and have them come down. The last thing we have is that board in the far corner. We're just asking you to think about whatever happens on this site, wouldn't it be great if, and asking you to fill in the blank, that whatever happens on the site, it'd be really a positive thing if it included blank, whatever it is that that means to you. So with that, we hope you will spend as much time as you need to provide that feedback. I'm here to answer questions. My colleague Nate is here to answer questions. Paige and Deb from the town of Groton. Paige, is there anyone else that we should? Oh, Sam is here. Where's Sam? There you are. Hey, Sam. So any of us can help answer your questions, take down your ideas, and we really, again, appreciate you coming out this evening. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hey, question now.
Yeah.
Who owns, does the state or the town own Horsley Road?
The town owns the road.
State.
I'm sorry, the state? I thought the town owned the road.
Either end, there's a little bit of the town, but in between, through the school away, is the state. The section that's all destroyed.
Oh, okay.
That's the state.
Okay. So both. Primarily state.
Sounds like Groton.
Primarily state, but partly the town as well. Yes, lots of jurisdictions overlapping in this town.
Part that destroyed it is repaired at the state.
Okay. The part that has been potholed is the state's responsibility. Oh, yes. Yep, that I think will have a big influence on people's perceptions. Sir?
Have you taken into account the fact that there may be a railroad there?
Has the town thought about that possibility? No. Yeah, it's still under study.
You said that the state is going to partner with the developer. How does the state partner with the developer, and how is the town involved in that? How much control does the town?
So the town, and you want to take this? You might do the microphone.
The exact process for how that will take place is still being discussed with the state. In reality, although this is an amazing asset for the town, it's an incredible liability to the state. So they're eager to see any expedited process to get this property into someone else's hands. One of the options is that we go through this solicitation process, and it goes straight from the state to a selected developer. Another option is possibly we go through the solicitation, but the state uses the town as a pass-through to expedite getting it into the developer's hands. We're still discussing that, but it does involve those three parties, and we're still figuring out how we're going to do that. Yes?
I have a question about acreage. I'm really confused about the acreage, and maybe you can help me out. We've been following the story about the oral school for a couple of years now, and every time the Day writes an article about it, it has it at 66, 77, some other number. So I'm confused. I was confused about the acreage, so I contacted DEEP and asked them about exactly what DEEP holds and exactly what the DAS holds. And according to the information I got from Graham Stevens there, the DAS holds the total acreage is 114 owned by the state. That's the total acreage. And that the acreage that the DAS holds is like 48. It's a 47 point something or other. So what I'm trying to figure out is if you're talking about redeveloping the acreage that is owned by the DAS, how do you come up with 77 acres? And then the article also mentioned that John Reiner was quoted, the one that came out a couple of days ago in the Day. John Reiner was quoted as saying that half of the acreage that you're talking about is under the purview of DEEP, and they're not planning on developing or redeveloping or doing anything with that. They're planning on keeping it protected.
Sure. Can you go back to the larger image that shows the 77 acres? Yeah, that's good. So, first question, we base it off of our tax property records.
In addition to that, this is not all of the property associated with the Mystic Education Center.
Oh, okay.
There's a number of parcels, small parcels on the east side of River Road that are also under the stewardship of DEEP, and that's factored into that 114.
Okay.
The larger parcel, which we refer to as the 77 acres, that's one lot of record. If you go on to the town's GIS database and you look up this property, you're going to find it's one lot, and I believe it says 77 acres. The state is one entity. So the Department of Administrative Services does not own property. DEEP does not own property. The state owns property, but they bifurcate the authority and management or control of the property. So in calling the state, that agency will give you the information as they understand within their entity. But in reality, it's one lot, that larger lot, 77 acres, that is half in control of DEEP and half in control of DAS. But the fact of the matter is, the entire parcel will be disposed by the state. We've had ongoing discussions with Deep because we've never intended on having that lower half developed. And we support having it preserved, open to the public, protected. Deep is in favor of placing a conservation easement on that land to make sure that we attain those goals. But that property will go in a transfer, most likelihood, to a future owner to be taxed, but also to be protected and open to the public. So that's why we handle it that way. Roughly, when we say half, I'm going to get in front of the projector, but we're basically talking about this portion down. All of this area is what we would consider to be the lower half. That is, for the most part, undeveloped today, and for the most part will remain that way moving forward. As was stated, we do envision improving it. Public trails, public access, selective tree clearing. Horsley Witten's been in there and identified a number of plant species that should not exist there. They're not native, they're not healthy for that forest. So it's been untouched for a number of years, but we envision that in the future it could be improved for community and public benefit. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Another question, we're east of, or west of Oral School Road, where you've got the three circles, the Holistic Fire Department is using in there for various training or whatever they're doing. That's kind of a high point, and we are just behind that, a little west of it. Is there any, what zone is that going to be for building? Can they build a 6-story long high-rise in there overlooking the whole Mystic Valley?
This is such a significant project. We believe it would be premature to address the rezoning at this time for a future development. We've had, I was quoted in the paper and it's accurate, we've had a number of development interests, and it isn't one type, it's a varied type. And we don't know what the best proposal will be. So what we're doing is we're waiting to actually address the future zoning based on a proposal that we think is best going to fit. There's no sense in addressing that zoning today and having to come back later on. So I can't answer exactly what will be on site and whether the zoning allows it because it's somewhat premature.
Thank you.
When you mentioned access to the Mystic River from that property, how? Other than walking through the woods?
Trails?
Yeah. I just thought you building a road through there.
No. Yeah, so we would envision, I mean, the topography is very steep, leading from the developed end down to the river. I mean, we would, the engineering would, yeah, no. So we were envisioning a series of trails, walking trails. I don't think you can even get a bicycle down those hills. Yeah, no roads. So with that, I would encourage everyone to get up, talk amongst yourselves, go see the boards, make sure you take the time to write down any thoughts that you have so that we have a record of them. And again, we're all here to answer any additional questions. Thank you so much.
Thank